The egg writer captures heaven fire from spring's first lightning bolt. And lights a candle to write symbols of resurrection and symbols of rebirth on an egg, creating earthly and celestial motifs with molten beeswax and vibrant color. For Christ is risen. In Polish legend, bees are celestial messengers because they fly just like angels, and their sting is like fire, just like the lightning. And beeswax is used as the egg writer's ink. The tradition of egg writing goes back in Poland over 1,000 years. At least it's documented. And that first document is this egg, which has the oldest design, which is example of how resilient the tradition is. Because some almost 1,000 years later, this same design appears 320 miles away from the original archaeological dig. The design is called the ancient chicken wattle, or that red part of the chicken's comb. You might ask, why a chicken? Well, the closest thing to the egg. And therefore some of the earliest in the ancient symbols are very, very much earthy and very much a part of the environment of the egg writer. Among the most important is the sunburst design. Now many people would look at this next design and say, well, that's a windmill, because that's what it looks like to our eyes. This is actually an ancient symbol of thunder. As we say, it is St. Michael who cast down the first lightning. And so lightning is actually written onto the egg as a sign of energy, not destruction, because lightning wakes up creation. They look to the stars as well. And these ancient stars actually were revealed to me by my great aunt. When I asked her, what do you call these symbols? She said, they're gwiazdki, stars. All lights of heaven. The chicken wattle, in a very stylized way, is a symbol of life, because the chicken brings forth the egg. We're not going to ask the other question. And since we're symbolizing the source of the egg, the hen or chicken wattle, one of the ancient and oldest of symbols is also the hen's feet or chicken feet. You'll notice that these are very stylized. That's very significant to the tradition. In other words, they're not meant to be pictures of chicken feet or lightning, but the people's perception. Here we have a palm branch. Like the palms, or reminiscent of the palms and branches which are blooming in the spring. This is called a pussy willow branch, or a willow branch, which is also a harbinger of spring, announcing the return of new life. And one of my most favorite of all the ancient designs is myrtle. The myrtle and palms, because myrtle is an herb, and it's a healing herb used in making sometimes alcoholic drinks, used in making brides' crowns for weddings. It's fragrant. It brings life, because in Polish, happiness is a fragrance. And that's one of the ways fragrance is of flowers is described, as happiness. And as the tradition develops in Poland, there are many other symbols and additional development. We have here the Easter Sunday sunrise. As you'll notice, many of these symbols are what I call cosmic, or taken from the skies, because they're taken from the entire environment. And here's how Easter is experienced with the sunrise procession in Poland. And the resurrection branches, or Polish palm, as my father called them, the pussy willow. Flowers take on symbols of both the fragrance and the joy of the resurrection. And to them are added various fruits and wild flowers, and even the most beautiful and wdzięczne, as we say, the most wondrous snowdrop. So delicate a flower. And then symbols very stylized of the Eucharist. The snop, as we say in Polish, or the wheat sheaf, and grapes, and even flowering grapes. All pointing to the various aspects of Easter, as well as St. Michael's lightning. Now, would you ever think that that's lightning? Look at the rays. Look at the breaks. Look at the various ways it projects the jagged form of lightning. And use the rest of your imagination to fill in the blanks. And here's the modern myrtle symbol, which a lot of times covers the tops of eggs and all around, all a sign of that healing, fragrant rebirth of resurrection. The colors also have meaning. And in this case, much different from the meaning that we would attribute to them here in North America. Black is not a morbid color. It's a sign of inner strength, nourishment, like the earth, something that endures, our heritage, and a color that recalls remembrance and memorial of those who have died. Brown is the color of patience, of gifts, and of health. Well, everybody wants to be healthy, go get a tan, don't they? So brown is that color. Brick is the fatherhood color, the hearth, the warmth, the security and bonding of a family. White, the resurrection, directly from Scripture, the beauty, the light. It recalls a wedding here of heaven and earth. Green, new growth, new life, renewal. That one was quite recognizable. Blue, the sincerity of motherhood, a gentleness, a certain authentic goodness in humanity. Red, the emotion and enthusiasm of the fire, of relationships, of family heritage, which attach themselves to both our heart and our soul. Orange is the autumn color, the sunset, the plenty, the goal that has been reached. And there's the color yellow, symbolic of the Easter sunrise, of attaining freedom, of optimism, someone who looks for the positive in life, of a spiritual awakening or one's own personal conversion, and of fellowship, of family and friends at table. Violet, the color of healing, forgiveness, contrition, the mystery of life, the wisdom of that mystery. Pink, spontaneity, playfulness, and endearment. Probably the spontaneity would be the reason it was my father's favorite color. Not only do the colors have symbolic attributes to them or meaning, so the divisions of the egg. The four corners of the earth in an egg which is, if you want to say, sliced with an equator and horizontally twice. There's your extension of the yellow, the hospitality. The barrel, well, where do you draw the drink and all that you put aside for the feast? Out of the barrel. And then the round face of God, which is light itself. The belt around the center is a ring, and that ring unites opposites. It's another reason we exchange rings at weddings, we'll see ahead. The triangles of the Holy Trinity, the threefold house of heaven. And of course, Jesus' glorious cross. All these are ways that the eggs are actually divided and then designs placed around them. Here we have the ring symbol appear again, and this is reminiscent of the wedding. The cosmic aspect of the orbiting earth and universe in the next egg here, and the four gospel writers, dividing the egg almost into, as an orange or apple, into four parts. Every aspect of the egg writing is symbolic of something beyond itself. And the final act of, in the writing process of removing the wax symbolizes the resurrection from darkness through light, the warmth of the light removing the wax. Polish families celebrate this entire reality of the resurrection at home. All of God's actions of creation, renewal, resurrection happen in the family, especially at the table which is blessed. Part of that is naturally dyed onion-skinned eggs for both blessing and for sharing. We have here before us a number of different types of blessed eggs, naturally dyed with beets and onion skin and red cabbage of all things, spinach, something we would know, and the combination of that to make natural dyes, because these are meant to be eaten at the table. But first they must be blessed. Why? Because they are touched with the resurrection of Jesus. And once blessed, the family shares them at home. We have a plate here prepared with some hard-boiled eggs and with pepper and salt, and some with red horseradish and greens all over the place as a sign of new life, because sharing the blessed food extends Easter joy into the home. Jesus wants to enter our home and sit down at table with us. That happens in the sharing of the egg, along with wondrous and warm wishes and affirmation. All because he is indeed risen. These egg wishes are extended as the eggs are passed from person to person, and especially the senior members to the youngest members of the family. Say to them that their dreams may become true and that Jesus be in their dreams. This is not just a time for terribly heavy, pensive type ponderous feelings, because there's games played with the eggs, which are meant to be eaten. The Christ is risen egg cracking game, where you find which is the strongest egg, the symbol of Jesus who rose from the dead stronger than death. And the victor takes traditionally all the other eggs, today receives some type of heritage gift. Transformed and written eggs are divine creations that unite with human work to inspire beauty amongst us. They all reflect the resurrection at the end of time, which will far exceed the beauty of these little handmade creatures here. And just in time for the releasing of this particular video, also some of the thoughts that are shared here have also come out in a new book that I put out called Egg Writing, The Art and Traditions of the Polish Easter Egg.